Our gospel lesson for today comes from Matthew 28, verses 16 through 20. Listen now for a word from God. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always, to the end of the age." Friends, the grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of the Lord endures forever. Thanks be to God. The message for us is this: you who are beaten down, you who have no energy left to try something new, you who are scared, you who doubt, you who don't know what your next step should be, you who are only a portion of what you were even a week ago. I commission you. There is a task that needs doing, and you are the ones to do it. Jesus says, you who doubt, I choose you. These verses are full of meaning for every time. Consider 2,000 years ago. The disciples were beaten down. They'd heard the one they loved tell them over and over that he would no longer be with them. And then he led them into Jerusalem, where they knew that good things were not going to happen. And then they watched, helpless, even denying him as those bad things happened. Our gospel lesson today begins with the words, "Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee." That is salt in the wound. There had been 12. But only 11 remained to go up the mountain. Their group is not whole, and they are no longer whole people. The 11 went up the mountain, and some of them doubted. Consider today. The disciples, that's us, are beaten down. Our country and our world are divided. There is a global pandemic killing hundreds of thousands of people. And the best way to slow it down is to avoid contact with others. We are not whole. Racism is number one in our news, with the senseless deaths of George, Brianna, Ahmaud, and many others. Poverty and hunger are realities in much of our world. The weight of the pain and suffering has us beaten down. We are not whole people. We understand the despair of the 11. Their despair was addressed by Jesus on a mountain near Galilee. That location is significant. They had spent time in Galilee with him. They knew the place and the lessons they had learned there. And going up a mountain was significant to all Jewish people. Moses was called from a burning bush on a mountain. Moses received the 10 Commandments on a mountain. Jesus delivered the Sermon on the Mount from a mountain. Jesus was transfigured before some of them on a mountain. our despair is addressed by Jesus also. We gather in Bible study and prayer time and Sunday school classes. We send cards and make phone calls and deliver packages. We lament that we can't gather together in the sanctuary, which might be our mountain. We lament, but we remember Jesus' words to us. I am with you always, to the end of the age. But then and now, our questions loom large. What is happening? Why aren't things better? Why are we so divided? And the resurrected Jesus says to us all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Or maybe we should paraphrase the words, to trust me, I am. Jesus is reminding them, I've got this. You don't need the power. I've got it. Then Jesus speaks an answer to the what now question. He says, I am sending you. I am commissioning you. Your job is to go and make disciples among the people. His message is for all people. 2,000 years ago, it meant Jewish and non-Jewish. In 2020, it means regardless of skin color and income level. Jesus says, baptize and teach. Baptize and teach. It's interesting because, Jesus did most of the teaching before. But on that mountain, he gives all disciples our commission. But can't you kind of hear those original disciples thinking, wait a minute, we can't teach, we can't baptize in your name, you're dead, but you're here. You're alive, but you're gone. What's happening? Or inside our heads, I imagine we might be thinking, I'm not qualified. Or, I don't want to offend anyone. But Jesus says, behold, I am with you, even to the end of the age. Even with all of the events that have happened. Even with your partial group. Even with your doubts. I am with you. All authority has been given to me. I commission you. Go, baptize, teach. That is pretty clear. And we are those disciples. Our world has been rocked. It's rocked by a virus that has changed the way we interact. It is rocked by racism, it's rocked by violence in the streets, and rocked by doubt. Wouldn't we love to go up our mountain? Wouldn't we love to gather together in our sanctuary? But our church has never been about being together in one space as much as it has been about being together in worship and service and commission. We look at the events of the past few weeks and we are unsettled and we doubt and we may be fearful. It's into that space that Jesus speaks and reminds us. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. We can trust that. We can lean on that. Go and baptize and go and teach. We can do that. There is violence and looting in our streets across the country. Peaceful protests have had violence incited by outsiders. Go and teach. What can we do? Well, we can't teach what we haven't learned. We need to educate ourselves and bring others along with us on our journey so we can teach one another. Maybe we should add to Jesus' words, go and be educated so that you can teach. The 11 went to Galilee and up a mountain, and some doubted. We are a group of people divided, separated into groups and factions, and we doubt. We doubt that our voice can make a difference. We, as white Americans, doubt that racism exists. The protesters around the U.S. doubt that real change is coming. We doubt. None of us condone violence. None of us condone racism. And yet both still exist. We had better get educated so that we can fulfill our commission to go and teach. This passage is Jesus' great commission, sending all disciples out into a world full of doubt and fear to make a difference, to baptize and to teach. We have work to do. Taking our doubts and our broken, fearful selves, taking our group smaller than it was, relying on the fact that all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to Jesus, who is the Christ, and never ever forgetting Jesus' promise, I will be with you to the end of the age. We will teach. Amen.